animals and us. Together, often unbeatable. Odd birds, in front and behind the camera. Some creatures arise right out of our nightmares, while others allure us. And sometimes they're just too close for comfort. Welcome to the weird wild. Australia, the continent where nature does things a little differently. The outback is one of the harshest deserts in the world, yet full of surprises. A living tornado, a shimmering cloud of birds.
I was really fascinated by how they were so coordinated and the shapes that they formed in the sky. You actually can't take your eyes off it.
These are no ordinary birds, but thousands and thousands of budgerigars.
It's an absolute cauldron here. I've never experienced anything like it before. Unbelievable. They're flying around everywhere. It's just like a Hitchcock film.
Amazing. How many are there?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've no idea how many there are. I can't count that high. There's an unbelievable number of birds here. We're so lucky. We've spent ages looking for them, and I've never seen such large flocks before. I think only a few people actually know that budgerigars normally fly through the land here in such giant flocks, rather than sitting in a cramped cage. The falcon is on the hunt again. It's hard to keep track of it.
The black falcon swoops in swift as an arrow. The rest of the flock moves on. Only few are left behind for the benefit of others. Honeypot ants have a very weird way of storing food. The delivered nectar goes straight to their abdomens. They are living pantries for the welfare of the colony.
We spent a long time deliberating on how we could actually film these creatures, and then came up with the idea that we should build an artificial ant cave. We then had help from a person from Alice Springs who's married to an Aboriginal woman. We then created our construction from cement and earth and such, and filmed it in their home. We took the ants and literally hung them all in there. These honeypot ants can't move at all anymore, but we actually took individual ants with a spoon and hung them from the roof of our nest.
The children from the neighborhood came and asked us, "Have you finished filming yet? We would like to eat our honeypot ants now. They won't get any better if you spend so long playing around with them." So I said they can have one, but then needed to go.
I was actually surprised that it worked so well, that the ants really did act like they do in nature, that the workers looked after the actual honeypot ants, that they cared for them like they were underground.
Not only Australia has strange wildlife to offer. The Bangwela wetlands in Zambia, one of the largest marshes on Earth. A wildlife haven. Nearly 400 bird species live here. Natural history filmmaker Thomas Behrendt only has eyes for the weirdest of all. A shoebill, but there's not a single feather in sight. The heat is another challenge for the team. an area half the size of Belgium. Where to start searching? The fact that Shoebill often hide in the papyrus thicket doesn't make the task easier.
Be careful, you know.
There it is.
Wait. Fantastic picture.
Up close with a rare bird. But it gets even better. A shoebill on the hunt. Something that no one has filmed before like this. The prehistoric-looking birds feed mainly on fish. Only about 7,000 of these shy creatures exist. 500 of them live in Banguelo. This one doesn't appear to be anxious at all.
What a shot. No one would believe that.
Thomas is totally relieved.
Yes. It flies right into frame.
That's fantastic.
Not only animals can be weird, but plants too. South Africa's nature is exceptional in almost every way. Especially the desert vegetation is full of surprises. Cameraman Mirko Tribanek has already made himself comfortable on the hot stones of Knersvlakte. He likes this harsh landscape a lot.
Sieht so aus, als wäre hier gar nichts.
It looks as if nothing can live out here, but this is not true.
Ist nämlich
The really exciting things are right under your nose.
kaum von den normalen Steinen zu
They hardly
unterscheiden.
look any different from a normal stone,
Steine,
but these are living stones.
wirklich ganz identisch aus. Erst
At the moment, they appear really wrinkled and dry,
Pflanzen sind, die sind jetzt total
but wait
vertrocknet
until the
und
next
runzlig.
rain and see how it revives
Dann,
them.
wenn hier mal Regen kommt, auf und werden zu neuem Leben erweckt.
The timing of the team seems to be perfect. Soon, first clouds appear on the horizon. A few drops are sufficient to create a small miracle. "150 millimeters of rain per year transforms the living stones into flowers." But deserts have even stranger places on offer. Namibia in Southwest Africa. Barren, but yet full of life. An international team of scientists is on its way to a cave that one would not expect in the midst of a desert. A lake. To explore it, the divers need to abseil from a platform 30 meters into the deep.
Okay. Stop.
No one has tried to dive here until now.
Otherwise, it's gonna get hot.
The water is crystal clear. Where there is still light, perches are on the hunt. The species is endemic. That means it only lives here in this region of Namibia. The team wants to dive down to the bottom of the lake, more than 100 meters deep. They need a special mix of diving gas and a lot of experience. The rope serves for the orientation of the divers. In depths of 30 meters, part of the team stays for safety reasons. For the advance into the abyss continues. Below 50 meters, it is pitch black. And finally, the divers reach the bottom of the lake and collect some rock samples. One glance onto the depth gauge, 103 meters. Suddenly, something on the ground catches the eye of the divers. A bone.
Ah, das sieht ja schon mal gut aus. Get it out. Guck mal, was sie hier mit hochgebracht haben.
Look what they found. It's really heavy. Is it petrified?
Let me hold it. Yes, it's really heavy. It's definitely petrified. Nothing left of the former bone material.
How old is it?
I'm not quite sure. It's older than 1 million years, maybe 10 or even 15 million years old.
Maybe an animal that's been extinct a long time?
Most likely.
An exciting find. Later, experts date the age of the bone to 5 million years. In the rainforests of Brazil, many weird creatures hide, animals that no scientist has ever described. The boat, Calabella, is on its way into this terra incognita. On board, the Dutch primatologist and species hunter, Mark van Roosmalen. On his expeditions, he discovered an area that offers surprises on a daily basis. Since then, Mark has discovered about 20 previously unknown monkey species, more than any other man before. For his work, he depends on the help of locals. Hunters bring the skin of a killed peccary they knew would be of interest to Mark. It looks different from the known peccary species. Could it really be possible that such an impressive creature has managed to go unnoticed for so long? But skin is not enough for the biologist. At a nearby wallow, the ground is covered with hoof prints. Among them, fresh prints of peccaries. Could they belong to the mysterious giant peccary? Mark builds a viewing platform. From there, he can easily observe the wallow without disturbing the animals. He settles down to wait. For hours and hours. And always alert. At last, his patience pays off. The animal has neither a white lip nor a white collar, typical features of the known species. It's a giant peccary. It has never been filmed before and lives in a small family group, confirming observations of local people. Altogether 4, 2 adults and 2 youngsters. Mark, utterly thrilled, takes in every detail. Even today, the discovery of a big land-living mammal is possible. Then, just minutes after they arrived, the giant peccaries begin to move on. But Mark got more than he could have dreamed of.
Yeah, I'm so happy now because after sitting here for ages on the platform, I finally got some nice footage of a whole family of the new species of Peccary. So now I can publish this new species. So I'm extremely happy, and I leave this platform as soon as possible with my treasure.
A sensation. But there is an alien world beneath the surface of the Amazon that is full of surprises. Nobody knows what kind of creatures lurk in the depths. Part of the team is German marine biologist and underwater cameraman Florian Graner.
This is Ronaldo, our remote-operated dive robot, an ROV. And this is its umbilical cord, the connection to our control center on board. We have 2 cameras and a kind of slider in front. We want to fix bait onto it so that we can film the fish in front of the cameras.
Florian's team will dive down with Ronaldo. They want to film a kangaroo, possibly the creepiest fish in the Amazon.
I haven't heard of anyone diving with kangaroos. It's very exciting. And I must admit, I'm a little nervous.
The tension is literally tangible.
Otherwise, I'm gonna get off. So your oxygen should be 8.4.
The divers will be in constant contact with the crew above water. As Florian approaches the ROV and the bait, the feeding frenzy has already begun.
The kangaroos enter the body through the mouth and have already started to bite holes into it. The whole bait is moving. It looks like a bunch of maggots, giant maggots. It's really something out of the Chamber of Horrors. They're trying to attach themselves to me. I just felt one in my armpit. This is getting very unpleasant. I'm not sure whether we should end the dive now. It's pretty gruesome.
Half an hour later, and the show is over. Hardly anything is left of the bait. The abyss of the Amazon hides many more secrets like this. On the other side of the world, in Arctic Russia, animals are less mysterious, but their behavior is nevertheless astonishing. For 4 months, wildlife filmmaker Uwe Anders lived under very basic conditions on Wrangel Island. The plank should prevent polar bears from entering the hut. At least, the simple construction keeps the chilly wind outside. The animals on Wrangel, though, have to deal with a sudden return of winter at any time. The eider duck has to protect its eggs 24/7 against the polar wind.
Within hours, the temperatures can plunge. If snow comes on top of it, all of a sudden the winter is back. One day it's nearly spring, the next everything is white. -10 Celsius, strong gusts, and all the birds are having trouble finding food.
Alles verschneit, die ganzen Vögel haben Schwierigkeiten, Fressen zu finden.
That makes breeding difficult. Many snow geese abandon their nests. Not the eider duck.
The eider duck just continues breeding despite the snow. From time to time it moves its head so that it's not covered in snow. For me, this duck is a symbol of all Arctic animals. They have to adapt or they die. If the eider duck leaves the nest just once, the eggs are doomed. But this little duck bears up and stoically sits there.
The neighbors, however, have failed.
The skewer nest was probably raided by an Arctic fox. He didn't find the eider duck. The duck managed to survive. That's good.
Ireland's coast. A place of myths. Home to very special marine mammals. Dolphins. Some live a solitary life, but make surprising friends.
It was in the year 2000 when I met Fungi for the first time. I immediately felt I finally found a place I always wanted to be. This was kind of decided for me.
Ute Margreff explores the loners. One of her favorites is Mara. The female is very playful and examines anything that drifts in the Atlantic. But she is not tame at all.
This dolphin is a free and wild animal who decides every time anew whether she wants to get in touch to share her world with me.
Usually, dolphins live in families or larger groups. Loners like Mara are called solitary dolphins. She has a strong interest for other creatures. Dolphins are very intelligent. Mara understands the use of her find and takes it to Ute. Hats off. Or better, hat on. Mara's curiosity is so obvious that Ute sometimes asks herself who of them is the real explorer.
Dolphins love their freedom. They are very self-determined, have a good sense of humour, full of happiness and liveliness. With these attributes, life can only be beautiful.
For Ute, solitary dolphins are not lonely, as many may think. They're constantly on search for new contacts and objects.
This is my treasure chest with all the things that Mara brought to me.
Many of the precious things look like rubbish. But for Ute, there's a story behind each of these presents, no matter whether it's a frisbee or a base cap. In California, another astonishing man-animal friendship moved the people's hearts.
Don't you wish you were down here?
It all started in the rescue center of actress Tippi Hedren. The Hollywood diva became world famous as part of Hitchcock's cast. After she started her foundation in the 1980s to finance the Shambhala Preserve, she got to know the easy rider, Chris Gallucci. She knew immediately that he was the right one for Timbo, a 46-year-old African elephant bull. For Tippi, one thing's for sure. The two are a perfect match.
Don't rip the pocket.
People ask us constantly, well, it's a bull elephant. Why, you know, they can be extremely dangerous. I believe that's true, but at the same time, he is allowed to be whoever he is, and there aren't a lot of rules and regulations that he has to deal with, which has been really fabulous. It, of course, has demanded that Chris more or less gives his whole life to this animal.
I understand what it's like to be kicked when you're down. I understand what it's like to have your freedom taken away. I understand what it's like to be chained up. And so maybe that's what got me the respect with the elephants, is to show no fear and no weakness. And if you can do that, you can survive in that world. But if you can't, that world will eat you alive.
When Timbo is in a bad mood, there's only one who can calm him down.
When Timbo starts blowing his horn and he gets angry and starts running, I can't find someone else to jump in front of him and stop him. I will. I've always done it. It doesn't mean anything except I'm just not afraid of him, and he knows it. He's the oldest elephant in the United States. He's the largest African bull and the oldest African in the United States. So, I mean, I hope he doesn't die for a long time, but if he does, then I'm going to be sitting here going, what do you think? What did I do? I spent 28 years with this huge feeling, this huge emotion, and now I have nothing.
Timbo owes Chris so much, not least his life. Berlin. The people of Germany's capital want to relax in the many parks of the city, but there's an increasing number of scary encounters.
There's a tusker on the path.
Actually, two of them.
There they are, right in front of us.
More than 8,000 wild boar roam the streets and parks of Berlin. No wonder humans and animals more often run into one another. Serious accidents are almost unavoidable. Fortunately, this group knows the dog sitter and he knows how to handle the situation. But not everyone reacts correctly.
If you throw something, or you kneel down, or the dog runs over to them, they panic and attack.
Especially when a young one squeaks. The others join it immediately.
During the weekends, there are so many people who are not used to the wild boar. I'm sure soon something will happen.
One who is very familiar with the animal inhabitants of Berlin is Dirk Ehlert. He's the official wildlife manager of the Senate. He's on constant patrol to check possible dangers caused by wild animals for the citizens of the capital and their pets.
It's really amazing what happens right in the city, directly on the parking lots. You see how close the boars approach humans. A lot of people would say, this isn't true, but in Berlin, it's quite a normal occurrence. Wild boars are no longer shy when they're looking for food. Of course, you have to be cautious if they approach you. She won't get anything from me, but it's quite obvious that this animal has been fed regularly, and she seems to be surprised that she's not getting anything from me.
For decades now, this woman feeds wild boar in a nearby forest, and she's not the only one. The more people feed the animals, the more piglets are born. More and more wild boar show up. a risky situation.
Ja, da sind die Frischlinge alle.
All of these are the young.
Wache geht ein bisschen.
The mother stays back a little and is very calm. She isn't even worried. The little ones observe every move that I make. I have to keep an eye on them. They're a good example of how close the relationship between humans and boar can be in the city.
Eight piglets are living next to the bus stop. They have a good start in life, thanks to visitors and passengers.
It's easy to see from their behavior that these animals have been fed. The female is very curious. Every rustling sound is of interest. It's unbelievable that you only have to pretend to hold something in your hand, and the animal approaches you. But I won't give anything to you. This is really a fatal situation. The female is a little excited, and me too. This is something we cannot tolerate. Wild animals in the city? Yes, but a tame boar is an absolute no-go.
Dirk Ehlert can only continue his work to organize how animals and humans can coexist in a metropolis like Berlin. The Netherlands. In the province of Zeeland, each year a fascinating spectacle takes place. Underwater filmmakers Florian Graner and Nathalie Tesche have a meeting with two passionate divers. Joop and Felicia Stalenburg help cuttlefish to spawn.
Why are you so interested in sepias? You are not biologists, right? It's quite simple. We love to dive. You may compare it with bird watchers. They build nesting boxes for the birds to lay their eggs. We are doing exactly the same, only for sepias. Initially, we only wanted to observe them, but over the years we realized how difficult it is to find the right places to spawn, and that they often end in fish traps. So if we don't help, next year they're gone.
Yes, there are no more left.
No more left, and they are so beautiful. It would be a pity.
Do you still have some teepees for us?
Yes, we have a few. It is a lot of work. If you want to help us.
Yeah, please show us.
Each of us take one side. The entrance of the teepee needs to face the current. The water needs to pass through the teepee to avoid that all the mud and plants stick to it. Okay, that's clear. So I take this side and you take that side, and then we put it down into the ground.
Felicia told Natalie that the ground needs to be soft enough to fix the teepees, but hard enough that the current does not float them away. Some algae makes the hideaway even more attractive. Soon after, the first sepias appear. The sepia arrives each spring at the dam to pass through a water gate to reach the water behind it. Thanks to the help of Felicia and Joop, the strange creatures are able to lay their eggs now and in the years to come. The national parks of the United States, from the Appalachians in the east to Yosemite in the west, are a magnet for visitors all year round. Most of the time, the big animals are in focus, like black bears. But in the Smoky Mountains, small critters attract thousands of people. All they need to do is wait until it's dark. They are here to see something sensational.
Sasquatch is out there. He's trying to get your picture. He has a
No, not Sasquatch.
Folks, if I get everyone to gather around the table, please.
But what they'll witness will be just as magical. This is the time of year when the fireflies come out. The Smokies harbour 19 species of firefly, an exceptional number for a place outside the tropics. Males use their built-in lanterns to lure mates. And then it's showtime. The headliners of the light show are synchronous fireflies. Flashing in unison ensures females notice them. Mating season lasts just 2 weeks. Adulthood, just 3. Then they die. Talk about a flash in the pan. It's called bioluminescence, living light. And there's more of this cold fire here. Bitter oyster mushrooms thriving on rotting wood. Why they glow remains a smoky mystery. Other creatures were directly related with evil. Demonic beasts with supernatural powers, animal devils. Owls, for example, are a symbol of misfortune and death. Owls, like bats, hunt at night, in silence. Unlike bats, owls do use vision to fly in the dark. They can't fly in complete darkness, but their eyes are at least twice as sensitive as human eyes. The medieval devil is part human and part animal, with animal features from beasts that lurk in humanity's darkest nightmares. But why have these creatures come to symbolize evil? Like the raven, an ancient symbol for death and decay.
Very many people associate the raven with evil because of its nature, because it feeds off the dying, it feeds off dead, it feeds off carrion flesh, which is a thing which is abhorrent to human beings.
The bright, intelligent birds eat a vast range of different things, and carrion is just one meal on this long list. The ability to learn stays with ravens all their lives. In the past, they learned to fly towards the sound of battle, knowing food cannot be far.
The Morrigan is one of 3 Irish goddesses who appear as a triplicity. She is the Morrigan, she is also Boar, and she is Macha. And these 3 are seen in the vicinity of battlefields, especially after the battle is done, when they fall upon the bodies and they scavenge them. The Morrigan with her sisters very often appears in the form of a crow or a raven.
But if you take a closer look, it becomes clear how extraordinary ravens are. They are one of the few creatures that play as adults, so there is no reason to demonize them. In ancient Egypt, people even thought animals could channel the powers of the gods. In deep underground chambers, close to the oasis of Dakhla, men and women rest in peace, close to each other. Sometimes they were buried next to their pets. In some tombs, the beloved dogs of the pharaohs lay next to them. But what about the other sacred animals? Most of the jars made of clay are broken, the devastating work of tomb raiders. In honor of the god Thoth, 4 million ibis were killed and mummified. Such a huge number couldn't be caught in the wild. But where did all the bodies come from? The only way to find out more is to analyze the bones of the mummies. What exact species is it, and how did the animal die? Egyptologist Kasia Spakowska knows more about the mummies.
In some cultures, you may light a candle, let's say, as a sign of devotion to a deity. In Egypt, at one point, seemed to use animals in that respect, animals that were associated, again, with particular deities. And these would be raised, if they could be, such as ibises, in vast numbers by the priests, and then they would be killed and mummified and be given to the pilgrim to then bring to the temple, we think, to be used in this way and left as a devotion to the god.
Mostly falcons are found in the jars at Saqqara. They were sacrificed in honor of the god Horus. Conservative estimates suggested 500,000 mummies. Horus was a powerful god. No wonder people wanted to keep him happy. Even today, our life is closely connected with the life of many animals. We think cities belong to us, but the concrete jungle is teeming with wildlife. A lot of animals have adapted, but the real estate market is tough on them too. The port of Hamburg covers huge areas. In some places, only few people work. A perfect habitat for animals. Like this fuel depot that is home to a colony of common gulls. The birds traditionally rest on bare, exposed islands along the coast, but large patches of concrete or wasteland are no different. They are fenced and provide big flat areas where colonies can form. Of course, they're not always peaceful or stress-free. The protest remains unheard. The nest is overrun. But gulls wouldn't be the most successful city dwellers if they couldn't come to terms with a situation like this. Even at the end of the world, animals use man-made structures when looking for a home or shelter. Not far from Antarctica on South Georgia, scientists and animals live side by side. But it all began in the 19th century with seal hunting and came to a climax with industrial whaling. The island whaling stations were in operation for about 60 years. Only in 1965 did the whalers leave South Georgia for good, and the animals could once again reign supreme over the island. More than 3 million fur seals live on the island today, the world's largest community of marine mammals. While the seals spend their time relaxing and playing around, the old whaling stations accommodate some special summer guests. Male elephant seals seek shelter from the wind and weather in exactly the same halls their ancestors were slaughtered in. Their annual change of coat is due. The term catastrophic molt describes the seal's mood perfectly. Hell for some is paradise for others, however. Sheathbills clamber over the backs of the foul-tempered seals. And the birds don't seem at all worried about the size of their grumpy hosts. They shamelessly target the open wounds of their victims before pouncing. But at some point, even an elephant seal runs out of patience. On the other side of the globe lies a lost world, New Guinea. An international team of filmmakers and scientists is looking for animals that only live here and nowhere else.
This is my favorite. Which one is it? I don't know. What? Have you seen the bristles? Can you see the bristles in the middle of his nose? Yeah, I've never seen that. No, me neither. So I'm looking forward to identifying this one. Oh, wow.
This is maybe a new species. I've never seen one like this.
Before Batwoman Alana Maltby can examine the bat, it needs to be dried.
The bats will be dried in this box.
Originally, it wasn't meant to be for bats, but for the camera equipment of photographer Ulla Lohmann.
This is my dry box, but the bats are soaked wet from the rain. They are my first priority now.
Inside, it's nice and warm. The water will quickly evaporate. Alana takes care of her new arrival. Only photos show just how weird the bat faces look. Altogether, the team finds 23 different species. One of them is new to science. The region has more strange creatures on offer. On the island of New Britain lies Mount Torvorvor. Here the team is looking for a very special bird. They are megapods, and bizarrely, they depend on this active volcano. They use it as an incubator.
Talpa just caught a megapod, and now I know why they are named like this. Their feet are really big and strong. They can dig holes up to 2 meters deep into the ground,
in which they lay their eggs.
The bird hasn't laid its egg yet. I can feel it here. It's really amazing. Such a big egg. I'd rather let the bird free so that it can get rid of the egg.
As soon as the megapod has buried the egg in the warm ashes, it no longer bothers to take care of its offspring. Each day, men paddle over to the mountain of fire, risking their lives, not only because of the ongoing eruptions. Toxic gases sometimes accumulate in lower areas. To reach the egg, the men need to dig about 2 meters deep. In some cases, the collectors suffocated in their self-made holes.
Oh, thank you.
This is the egg of a megapod. For the people around here, it is very precious, as there aren't many ways to earn money here. The egg costs about 2 kina. That's about 70 cents.
Quite a lot of money around here, but it's dangerously earned money. Back on Papua New Guinea, in the village of Fogomayu, villagers give a little bag to Ulla.
Oh, snake? Yes. Because I'm looking. Yes. Oh, one big
There might be a snake inside, but I don't know whether it's venomous or not. What's this? It's a little tree python.
As a juvenile, the snake is yellow.
Thank you.
Only later will it become bright green.
The little children are taught to fear snakes, as there are a lot of venomous species around, but you don't have to be afraid of this one.
Du musst keine Angst vor der Schlange haben. Bitte, das bei Snake and me easy. Nice. Yeah. Guck da. Nice.
Thrilled, everyone observes how Ulla handles the tiny tree python. At least for some photos, the little girl forgets her fear. No matter how weird some animals may look, they're all important for the ecological balance, and our world would be so much poorer without them.